This is lesson 8.6, B as in boy, continuing with the different types of variation here. And we're going to do joint variation now, because sometimes there's a relationship between one number and two other numbers, rather than in the ones we just did where it was y varies directly as x, or x varies inversely as y, or something. It might be something like x varies with x and z. So when I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you that it varies jointly if I mean directly, and I've got more than one. So let's say instead of y equals kx, let's say I've got y equals kxz. And the way I would say that is y varies jointly with x and z. Okay? Everything's done the same, it's just a new word there. I'm going to say jointly to show that I've got two letters there that I'm comparing with the y instead of just one. If I might say v varies, I may say v is directly proportional to t and inversely proportional to p. So the minute I say inversely, I have to put the next letter underneath the k. If I say directly, it's next to the k. I might say f varies jointly with m and n, so jointly means multiply those two times k, and inversely, the moment I say inversely, I have to draw a line, inversely with the square of r. So f varies jointly with m and n and inversely with the square of r. Okay, so that's what that looks like. So they can be a little bit tricky as far as writing them down, but let's go ahead and practice. So for example 4, the first thing we're going to do is write the problem down. Y varies jointly, so I know I'm going to have two letters next to the k, with x and the square of z. When x is 5 and y is 3, y is 180. They gave us that information so that we could find k, because that's our next step. So, when x is 5, z is 3, y is 180. So I'm going to find k. Nine times 5 is 45. Divide by 45, divide by 45. Oops. So k is equal to 4. So that was my next step. Alright, so now I'm going to write this original equation with 4 as my k. Okay. Now find y when x is 2 and z is 4. Oops, I don't want to put a z there, I want to put a 4 there. So y equals 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 4 is 16. So y equals 16 times 8, which is 128. That is what I'm looking for. Alright, let's look at example 5, and then we will be done. Okay, so in electricity, the resistance of a cable is directly proportional to its length. We don't care about all that. Alright, you don't have to understand electricity to do that. The key thing is to see the word directly proportional. So, let's just use some letters. The resistance is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to the square of its diameter. Okay, so that's all I care about. I've got the formula now. Next I'm going to find k. If a 100-foot cable, so that's my L, that's why I like to use those abbreviations, letters that represent like length, so I know which one is the length. 0.5 inch diameter. Has a resistance of 0.2, and that word is ohms. That's resistance. You don't have to understand what that is. You just have to know where to put the information. The resistance is 0.2 ohms. Okay? Now we can find K. So let's go ahead and find our K. And you do all the math. You take 0.5 times 0.5 and then multiply both sides by that answer. So that times 0.5 squared, and then you'll divide by 100. You know how to find K given that information. And so K then is 0.0005. So there's my formula, or I'm going to rewrite my formula with 0.0005 times my length over d squared. Okay, so I found my K, plugged it in my formula. Now they're saying, what will be the resistance of a cable made from the same material if it is 200 feet long, with a diameter of that's not supposed to be, my 200 is supposed to be up here, with a diameter of 0.25 inches. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the resistance. So I'm going to take these two numbers and multiply them together, take 0.25 and square it, and then do the division between those, and I get a resistance of 1.6 ohms. Okay? So, it's going to take some practice. Variation is not hard. It's just a little bit tricky since most of you haven't done it before, and sometimes it takes just a little bit of time to kind of get the thing down. So, anyway, that's it for 8.6.